Let's talk about Poshmark. It's been a long time coming. No, it hasn't. It has. It sort of has. Anyway, we are part of the Poshmark beta testing. Do you say beta or do you say beta?
Beta crew.
So 500. I think initially it was 500 people, and we got. I don't know how many of those 500 people that that were picked were dropped out or whatever.
Yeah.
But we got nominated by some American viewers, because we didn't apply. I'll tell you that much for true.
Much for true.
We just got the emails to be part of it, and of course we want to be part of it. Like most people that are professional online sellers in the UK, Poshmark coming to the UK was a massive deal, and for anyone who follows the American market, you know that Poshmark is a massive deal. And we're not going to do a walkthrough or anything today because it's still in beta, whatever. So when it comes out, we'll do like how to list and all those fun things. But we wanted to give our initial thoughts on it, because I know some people are fence sitting. I know some people haven't fully
taking the leap.
Taking the leap into it. Some people are on it, but so we wanted to talk about our opinion after fully pushing it to its limits for a few weeks now. So shall we begin? Poshmark, for anyone who doesn't know, is an online marketplace app. It will be on desktop as well, but for all intents and purposes, app. Just like eBay, Vinted, Depop. From first impressions, very first impressions, it came across to me very similar to, it's like a hybrid between Depop, Vinted and eBay. There's no auction function or anything like that. But it's...
You're talking about the listing now?
No, I'm talking about in general, to look at. Physically to look at.
I think
looks like Vinted, but it works like Depop.
I think it looks like a high-end Vinted, yeah, and I think then it feels a bit more like a social app, as opposed to just a selling app.
It's what Depop would like to be, to look at. But you can tell initially from the offset that a lot of money has gone into this.
Yeah. Like
this isn't just like this isn't a Vinted. Like Vinted, I think one of the main things that stops Vinted from allowing professional sellers onto the app is the cost in programming to allow for structured returns and
agreed with that.
Business information and 100%. Things like that, and data protection. It all costs, and security. It all costs so much money to implement these things. And because Poshmark is so established in the US, India, Canada,
Australia, I think.
Australia, they already have
the infrastructure, basically. Yeah.
So they're literally just bringing it over here.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things which for a lot of people who are like, why is it taking so long and blah blah blah. I think that which obviously is a great question, but I think by the same token they wanted to make sure, like each market, I think the US was the first, if I'm not mistaken, but when they go into each market, whether it's Australia, India, however which way they did that, they want to make sure there's like a kind of a boom time, an explosion, a kind of like an interest level of that region, if you will, rather than just saying the app's open, it's a free for all. And I think once again, because different places buy in different ways, or structure their their work days in different days, I think sometimes it takes a little bit of getting used to that kind of area and region you're releasing it in. Importantly,
you can casually sell on there, or you can be professional. A professional reseller. There are no additional fees to being professional. So a lot of people have said off mark, a lot of people have said the fees are a lot higher. So the fees on Poshmark as a borderline is 20%. So they take 20%. So how their postage works is very much like Vinted. So it's pre-generated, or does that make sense? Yeah. So it is, as a blanket, it's Royal Mail 48, but you can choose as a seller whether you want that parcel picked up from your home by the postman and they bring a label, or you want to print off a label and take it to wherever you want to take it, your depot or your post office. Is a flat cost to the buyer of, I think it's £2.50.
And that's via Royal Mail, just to clarify, yeah?
Royal Mail, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you, as a seller, can either choose to offer a postage discount, which takes the postage down to like £1.50, or you can offer free postage. As a blanket, I haven't fiddled with that yet. Items over a certain amount, I think it's over 200, automatically are free.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, so that comes out of your sort of bottom line. But you have to keep in mind that when we're selling professionally on eBay, because we can't really talk about Vinted because technically You have to also pay, although the fees are lower, you have to pay a shop subscription.
Yeah, you do.
And you have to pay postage on top. So
and then let's not go there, but you also have your percentage depending on if you're promoting listings, etc., etc. You can go on forever, you know.
So that's that as a basis. So I don't actually think the 20% is. I
think people, like anything, they're scared of that figure initially. It's like when you explained with the Vestiaire thing previously, and I think it's the same thing. When you actually tot up what you spend on eBay, it's irrelevant. And
you can adjust your prices accordingly if you want to. You can adjust your prices accordingly. So I uploaded the initial 10 items, and I've just sort of been slowly doing it because, as you know, it's in beta, so it isn't open to the general public. So my first initial thoughts were, well, that means we're all resellers or we're all trying to sell something, so no one's really going to be buying off each other. That just makes sense, right? So I'm not going to go 100%. I just, as I have new items, I'll also cross-list them manually over there because obviously it's not on our cross-listing application at all at the moment. I'll manually post over there. And during the process, they've offered loads of incentives, and they really want to see how the app works. So they really want us to buy off each other, and they want us to, you know, leave reviews and things just to show there's no bugs, you know, you just to see
the whole process, basically.
Yeah. And I was amazed that we've only done free sales. I mean, it's not like, you know, but free sales to people that are resellers and trying to sell things is not bad for a brand new application.
And it sounds funny, but the people we bought from, actually, I think one, at least maybe two, we've been a few sales before we bought from, we actually know as well. Which, what I'm saying is, maybe wouldn't have happened on eBay.
It wouldn't have happened on eBay. But the thing is, I was saying to someone the other day, like, I personally, as a person that only buys pre-owned, maybe like the odd piece here and there of high end, I hate eBay. I don't use it to browse. I use it to sell.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I don't sit there looking for things. If I'm looking for something specific, then I will try and search that and see if it's on there. But apart from that, I'm not sitting for hours looking through someone else's shop.
You don't browse. That's the word.
It's not a browsing website.
No, it's not.
Whereas this, as Poshmark, I could sit for hours and literally go through other people's wardrobes, seeing what they got and seeing what the prices are. And it's a very user friendly app. It's hard to describe though, because similar to look at, it sort of looks like Vinted. And I'll put some screenshots up. It looks like Vinted, but it isn't. It moves more efficiently. How they lay out the little Polaroid pictures. You've got the size, you've got the price, you've got the title, and then the picture. It's much more easy to navigate. It's a very shoppable, friendly website. You can make offers. It's not as straightforward as eBay, where you can sort of offer whatever you want. You have to offer like a percentage off, or you can do a custom offer, but it's mainly like offer 3% off or offer 5% off.
It's quite a specific amount.
Yeah, and then or I could do an icon offer to someone that's like favoriting. You can heart the picture of something you like
Instagram,
and then the seller can send you an offer based on the fact you've liked it. Now you can do that in bulk, which we will show you in another video when it's open to the public, and you can.
It makes sense. It would make sense.
Yeah,
I guess, at the moment.
You can offer bulk, so you can offer a 10% blanket on everyone that's liked a picture, liked an item. So that's a really interesting feature. It works very similarly to Depop, as in sharing. Now you can refresh your whole store, which would be the equivalent to the thing they do on Depop, where you basically bump your listings to the top of search results.
When you edit an item in it,
yeah,
you kind of, if you've edited it, you haven't, and it goes to the top of the search results, like you just said.
So if things are like sitting for a while and they haven't had much action, you can share your listing, and it goes to the top. So it will go to, say I've had these dungarees on for about a month and there's been no interest. I can share my dungarees again, and it goes to the top of the dungaree section. So that's interesting. And we've been sharing our store 3 to 4 times daily, so it goes top of the search results every time. It's a very community based app, so If you're a professional reseller, and you have to understand this video is mainly aimed at professional resellers as opposed to a casual seller. So when I talk now, it's aimed at people that sell for
hundreds
a living.
of items, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. Because for one or two, it would make no sense. If
you want to get the most out of Poshmark, you have to allow a lot of time for it. It is time consuming. It is as time consuming as a social media app, but add in eBay, for example. The manual listing doesn't take very long, and I will screenshot the manual listing page, and it's very simple. You have 17 pictures, so 16 plus one video. That's
a world record, I think, on a thing app, isn't it?
eBay went up to 24 photos recently. But I find personally, I can't use 24 photos when I'm taking a picture of a plain black top.
Because there's not 24 photos to take. I'm with you.
So it went from 12 to 24, which I think is a bit excessive. 17 seems like, for me personally, I'd not push in to try and get 17 pictures, if that makes sense.
I'm with you. But it's there if you need it. That's the point.
And one video.
And a video you mentioned,
I personally don't use videos, but I know some people do. And I know if you're selling like handbags or shoes, you might want to include that feature to get a better look at the item.
I think for accessories, which sometimes, for example, a belt is maybe harder to photograph. To show a belt is sometimes a lot easier, like you say, a handbag or stuff like that. So I totally get why that's included. And I think, listen, it's not a bad thing that it's there if you need it.
There's the title, which they, after listening to a few of the like sort of help guides and things like that, the title works very similar to eBay. So brand name, size, colour, defining features, keywords, so anything that will come up in a search, and to use as many characters as possible. Then the description also works the same as eBay. Any flaws put in there, any,
just details,
sizing. They do recommend measuring, so we're going to have to start doing that, I think. And storytelling. They talk a lot about storytelling, like styling tips, and things like that, which as sellers and as professional resellers, some people do and some people don't. I don't think it's the be all and end all, so I won't worry if that's not your flavour, because it's not my flavour. But it might, I don't think it would do much, but they like that community aspect, that that talking, that communication.
Fashion as well. I think it is definitely more fashion based. So like you say, styling tips and things like that. Whereas sometimes, for example, you'll come across any of the platforms and someone will try and style an item, and sometimes, okay, great, happy days, but a lot of the time, because not everyone does that necessarily, it's a bit like, so that person's obviously into fashion. Whereas I think Poshmark across the board, because predominantly it is fashion, and a lot of kind of more like-minded people, I think that's why it works in that respect more.
And then they have categories, so you put it in your category. So it's a coat, you put it in coat, and then you put it in jacket, and then you put it in whatever kind of jacket it is. The categories are more limited than other reselling platforms, but as far as I can see, it wouldn't hinder, if that makes sense. As long as you've got the keywords in your title, it will still pop up. They also use keywords, so you can put free keywords in, which is very similar, I find, to Depop when they ask you what style it is and what
there's a lot of drop downs on Depop,
theme it is, or whatever it is, like that kind of thing. And you can add in words here that maybe weren't mentioned in the categories. So like if it's a duffel coat, but duffel coat isn't an option, you can put duffel in that section, and it will spark as a keyword when someone's searching, for example.
And just so everyone knows, the reason sometimes people do that is, depending on the platform, sometimes there's a limited amount of characters in the title. So when you've got that, it gives you, for example, if you didn't want to fit in a vintage, or unless it's a really important keyword, but you can add that as a so when that's searched, it will still come up, your listing will still come up, and it's visible under that vintage tag, if you will. I guess a tag, you'd say,
yeah, technically. And then obviously colour, and their colours are a little bit limited. It reminds me of Vestiaire, if anyone uses Vestiaire. They're just like, Vestiaire doesn't have cream, it has a crew.
And then there's beige, and that's it, white.
Anyway, so it's very similar to that, but I know it's in its like infancy stages in the UK, so maybe they'll add some more fun things in. And obviously size and then newer tags, etc. They do have a boutique section, so if you're selling wholesale or handmade items, a category that you have a lot of newer tags in, you can do a boutique option, and obviously that's aimed at business sellers. I did ask whether it was relevant to us in terms of, because we have a lot of newer tags, and they said only if it's all one item. So if it's newer tags, ladies trousers.
Yep.
You can open a boutique for that, but then you'd have to open another boutique for newer Taz ladies dresses,
So
and then it starts getting unnecessarily complicated.
So that is for kind of, if you're a wholesaler, you've bought like 10 different drops of this, and this, and to do it that way.
I'm trying to get all the points through. So if this is more of a, like, not technical, but I'm trying to get all the, you know, the basic for anyone who hasn't been on the app or is wondering about it. What are you gonna say?
I was just going to mention, I don't know if this is something you want to talk about. Yeah, if you don't, you can tell me shush. The offer system.
I just said that.
But no, you did mention that obviously it's all prepaid.
Oh yeah, so one big thing that I know people like a lot, and we were saying how much we like it, is if I was to put an offer in on this phone case, I'd have to put all my bank details in and pre-approve the payment. So then if the seller
so I'm the seller.
If the seller accepted my offer, then it just automatically goes through. So there's no sending an offer and then not paying. There's no sending an offer and then saying you don't want it. It will charge you.
Myself and Pete were having a chat with one of the guys, one of the kind of more senior guys from Poshmark actually, and we mentioned how to us, I say Pete, I mean Charlie Pete, that to us from says, and he actually did a story this week about it, that sometimes on eBay, on Best Deal this happens as well, that you'll have multiple offers sent, you accept them, and they're never paid. They're unpaid. And I think that's a massive problem for resellers, which obviously this stops happening. So if you get an offer and you're happy with the offer, that's it, you've got your money.
Yeah, that's good. They do stories just like Instagram. It's a very you share your listing. You can share your listing with a little click button, so it clicks you straight through to the product so you can purchase. It's very share heavy. So talking of
yeah, sharing is caring.
So you can have followers. It's very much like Instagram.
I love how you.
There's a lot. It's got this. At first, I was like, whoa, and I was spending like hours and hours doing it, and I was like, whoa, and then I realised you have to do the hours to get the best out of it, and when you do the hours to get the best out of it, it works for you.
It works great. Yeah, so I agree with that.
You do the crime, you've got to do the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started literally the last couple of days getting into it more myself. Obviously, Bethany's doing it for the past few weeks now, but I will say it is. And what I would say on the flip side though is like I've hardly been on Instagram today because I've been on Poshmark, and this for me, like, as regards selling platforms, like I usually class work as work, and you know, as much as we're doing it all day long, but honestly I find it's interesting. It's more more social media, I guess, you know.
I feel like I'm not like as like chatty or comedic in this video because I'm trying to think of like it's so complex as a platform. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to list this and it's going to sell. Like, it's
you're right.
Most bizarre. You're
100% right.
It's different.
It's totally different. It's a totally different platform. It's a totally different way of doing things. And not only that, in fairness to you, not only you listing these things, but also we're also at the same time we're running our other businesses and our other platforms.
And it's manual
and
listing.
obviously YouTube. So once again, I think these things all take a time up. And more so, what I would say though is there's not been a platform yet which has come along, you know, whilst we've been reselling, that I've thought I was willing to kind of give that time to. Like, you know how I am. Like, unless it instantly gives me results, or I'm like, okay, I can see this paying off, even if it's in maybe a year's time, but I can see it's going to work. And I've got to say, not to kind of, you know, say that, you know, it's the best thing since life bread. It's very, very good. Don't get me wrong, I don't see any faults thus far. But I'm saying I do see myself spending more time with it, and I think it's productive time.
If you do have any questions, then just put them down below and I'll answer them, because I'm trying to go over everything, but I understand
probably miss loads.
Might not make sense now.
Because obviously, once again, sorry to interrupt you, but because no one, apart from if you're obviously a tester, you wouldn't have seen it and you wouldn't be able to use it.
I will include
that's
as many.
What's hard. That's what I think what you're finding hard.
I will include as many screenshots as I can without, you know.
Because when you talk about eBay or Depop, people watching can relate.
Yeah, but
you know.
Anyway, so they do have followers. You can do followers like Instagram. It's not the most important thing in the world. However, if you have followers, there's more chance that people are going to share your listings, and then there's more eyes on them. It's sort of like, so Lola from over at Chatty Pete, not at Chatty Pete. They're a reselling.
They're two different people, couple, but they're a reselling couple.
But you might know it from there. Anyway, she asked about algorithms and how algorithms work between the app. And the ladies that are running the beta system basically said that there isn't one as such like eBay. Their algorithm works through sharing. So the more people you share, the more people share you, the more eyes on your product, the more eyes on their product. It's a huge community base of basically sharing, resharing and sharing again. And that way you basically got to do your own algorithm. Yes. You are your algorithm. The more you share, the more you sell, the more you connect with people, the more people come back to shop with you because they get an understanding of what you're selling. And it's all like a rolling stone situ.
Yeah, exactly that. Basically, if I'm on the app and I follow 4 people, and I share all those 4 people, those 4 people might share me if I'm lucky enough, great, happy days. But once those 4 people are done with me, because I've added no one else, that's it. They might do that maybe once or twice again. However, if I add loads and loads and follow loads of people, and eventually maybe I get the follows back, and you share all those, it's basically the more you add to the people you follow, they will, fingers crossed, follow back and then share back. And it has thus far. Would you not agree that worked?
Yeah, 100%. It works really well, and I completely get it. But I understand it's very time consuming. It's very manual, so there's no like secret trick to mass.
I kind of like that though. You grab for it.
I had a few people message. And asked if there is any, because we obviously have been working at it, and asked if there was like some secret that we pressed a button and we got a bulk follow or whatever, and I was like, no, we did it all manually.
They didn't even have cross-listing yet. How would we even know that?
No, so it's all manual from that perspective. But sharing stories, sharing the community, sharing products, sharing on your socials. It's all about sharing, engaging, communication, building relationships, etc., so on and so forth. And it's really cool from that perspective. However, it's a full-time job.
Yes,
it's taxing.
100%.
It is.
Do you think that's time? Do you think that's because at the moment though it's because obviously it's in beta, it's resellers with resellers. No, there's only 400 of us. No, what do you think?
I think after watching a few videos and talking to people, I think in America there's this huge community of people that do it as a full-time job, and they're Poshmark sellers.
Yeah, you mentioned this to me today actually, which I didn't realise, because once again in the UK, well, most people in the UK, you either totally eBay or you do eBay, you do a bit of Depop, a bit of Vinted, a bit of Vestiaire maybe like us. But apart from maybe like full-time eBay resellers or part-time as the case may be, no one's just one platform. Really? Unless you just eBay, right?
Most people are just eBay. Like, if you're going to be one, you're just going to be eBay.
In America, what I was going to say was, and once again, I've noticed whilst I've been kind of following different people, sharing different people as well the last couple of days, specifically, there are so many poshers, as they're called, and they are literally careers built on Poshmark. We followed one for years and years and years.
So cool.
It's so cool. But I think that's kind of cool though, because if for them the value is there to be able to make a living, and listen, I don't know if they're making pounds and pennies, I don't know if they're millionaires, right? What I'm saying is, if you've got like 4, 5, 6,000, 70,000 products online, you can't be doing bad.
I personally think for us personally, and a lot of people have asked our opinion on it, I think it is going to rival, for us, it's going to rival eBay. I think I will put as much work into it as eBay. I think if eBay and Poshmark will become my main accounts, my main things, and then obviously I diverse to Vestiaire, Depop, and I think it is a lot of work. I'm not even like, it's a lot of work. Like, it's not a walk in the park of, you can use it casually. Once again, I am reiterating, I'm talking from the perspective of getting the most out of the app for a full-time, for a professional seller. I'm not talking about casual, because you can use it however you want to use it. You're still going to get sales if you're casually using it and putting a few items up and sharing a little bit and following your mates and stuff like that. But you're still going to get sales. I'm not taking that away, but I'm saying if you want to make as much money on eBay as on Poshmark as you're making on eBay, then you're going to have to. it's work from the perspective of you're basically your own marketing machine.
I was just gonna say, you know the difference, in my opinion, between the two.
Whereas eBay say they push you.
If you can imagine, eBay is pushing you in front of a gazillion people, and you're having to catch a bus or a taxi or a car or whatever to every individual door, knock that door and see if they want a sale. So you're putting that legwork in if you want. And people might say, well, why would I bother doing that? My initial thoughts and
more sales.
Well, I was going to say not only more sales, because once again, when you can get in front of someone, fingers crossed you're going to sell it. I was going to say more control, yeah, because you know what? Tell me a time, and eBay, I'm not trying to stand here and say, right, eBay's over, forget about eBay, blah, blah. No, Bethany just said, no matter how much we do on Poshmark, eBay will always in the background, because eBay is it's enormous. It's not even gigantic. It's like just so large, it would be almost impossible. But it can work in parallel, right? And what I would say, like you just said about control, is for me, the amount of times that eBay have done something, or they, for example, the recent feedback thing, where but now with feedback you can't speak to anyone directly to remove feedback, even if it's totally incorrect, totally unreasonable, even if put in the wrong place by someone who should never have put feedback there. They're saying it was an error. Unless that person takes it back, they won't sort it out for you. So with all these issues and problems with eBay, what I'm saying is, I honestly think I would rather put some legwork in, but to know when I sell my item on my behalf, no one's going to mess with me. It's just a case of thanks for the item. It's a lovely item. There's no problem. It's great.
I also keep in mind that it's a fashion-based app, so fashion accessories, footwear, men's, women's, and children's.
Children's is interesting too.
And skincare, beauty products, anything like that. You like mirrors and things like that. But like it has to be related to the beauty things. So you can't be listing. It's not there to be listing homeware, for example. No. I think you could squeeze them in, but it's not specifically made for that. So from that perspective, eBay will always have a chokehold on the reselling community, because it will always have more. But from the same perspective, because this is more refined down to fashion, then perhaps this is going to be a better outlet and a faster, quick moving outlet for clothing
100%.
And fashion related items, if that makes sense. I mean, there's loads to talk about. Absolutely loads to talk about with it.
We're probably missing 1,000 things at this point.
They're bringing lives, so lives will be, I don't know how soon lives will come, because they've only just come out of beta for lives in the US. I don't know how, but I think that will rival Whatnot. For example, we have applied for Whatnot in the UK, and I know it's coming out very soon, and initially it's going to be, it's more aimed, it was originally invented to sell Funko Pops. So it's going to be more aimed to sports cards, toys, and that kind of market when it first hits the UK. I'm not saying it's going to not expand, but when it first hit America, they were fully vetting who could sell on it. And you have to have a YouTube following, you have to have Instagram following.
And you know what? From someone who can talk a glass eye to sleep, I'm going to be really honest. Like I would definitely try kind of this kind of live kind of selling situation, whether it be via Poshmark or
I think on
whatever,
Poshmark,
right?
we're going to do it.
For sure. But what I'm saying is, for a lot of people, in fairness, not everyone is mouth almighty. Like, not everyone necessarily wants to talk. Now they're saying want to be on camera.
And that's okay.
100%, I get it. So what I'm saying is, in some ways, it's great to see, like, for example, we've seen Riley Roots do it, eBay Princess does it, I know
Harry Tornado.
Harry Tornado, there's YouTuber. What I'm saying is, people who are usually used to being in front of the camera, it's not so much of a problem. I think if you'd asked me maybe 2 or 3 years ago, without doing anything in front of a camera at all, I probably would have been.
So I'm going to concentrate, personally, I'm going to concentrate all our efforts over to Poshmark in terms of that, even that aspects of it. I know a lot of people have asked our opinions on Poshmark, and early on I was like, I was umming and erring, because there is no, as it stands, there isn't a large amount of straight to consumer marketing or any like join Poshmark. Poshmark is coming.
No, I agree with
that. And I know that alarms a few people. After talking to them, after playing with the app, after being in it, there ain't gonna be no problem in getting people on this app. And I know they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly where they're aiming it, and they know exactly their marketing strategy, etc., so on and so forth. I don't think there's going to be any concern then getting this app to the consumer market, if that makes sense. 100%.
I was actually going to say we were lucky enough to go to what they call a Posh Party. This was based in Bristol with a group of other people who were doing the beta. They had one in London previously, I think a week before that. And you know what? Speaking to them, all the people there, they were kind of different kind of levels within Poshmark UK, and the guys were pushing it. And I got to be honest, I don't know about you, I was expecting, I don't know, for it to feel a bit more salesy, like they had to push it to you. And you know what? The mad thing was, the guys were kind of walking, the kind of Poshmark guys, if you were walking around chatting to us all individually, if you are, and in groups. But what was mad was we were almost talking to ourselves about it. Like, it wasn't like, you know, I could stand here and say, oh, Poshmark, greatest thing since sliced bread, blah, blah, blah. They've told me to say, I would happily tell you it was awful. It was awful. I can't stand. I think it's a waste of anyone's time. If I generally thought that. I don't gain. I don't like, all I can gain from is using it as an app and making more money for my business. And honestly, I see that is a way forward. What I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is, what they were asking questions. They weren't telling you. They weren't like, it was kind of, how can we help with this or can we help with that? And what's mad is, as Bethany said, we already had some sales, and there's like 400 or 500, whatever it is now, maybe a few more resellers on that app. Resellers, categorically, and if you're watching this, you'll probably agree with me, we're the tightest people on earth. So for us to buy stuff and to kind of come across stuff we want to buy, I think that in itself, it tells me a lot. Like, how many purchases do we buy for ourselves on eBay in the last year, unless it was a specific kind of real super rare item? It doesn't happen. And we found ourselves just buying things. It's weird.
It's interesting.
I think all those things roll into one, and I do think it's, if you're willing to spend a few hours here and there, and it is time consuming. I'm not just, you know, I'm saying you have to get into it. If you want to pick it up, you know, press a few buttons and hope for the best, I don't think that's going to be for you. In the same respect, I hear people even now saying Depop, for example. Oh, I've given up Depop, it didn't return.
You have to put in work in Depop. It requires work, because it isn't the same as eBay. It's not, their marketing isn't pushing you in the exact place you need to be. You need to help yourself a little bit.
There you go.
I have to say there is a couple of incentives as well within the Poshmark world, like generally, and that is referred to as Posh ambassadors. And anyone can do it as long as you meet their criteria, which we'll go into in a separate video because it's not relevant right this second. So we will be coming onto the app when it goes like live to the public as Poshmark ambassadors.
And there's a few other people as well, so you know it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a few. There's obviously Mrs. Lola and Charlie P, obviously, and Mr. Jamie.
Yep.
I'm confident. I'm confident that if you put in the work within the app, then they will push you exactly where you need to go. And you can do it through this ambassador sort of scheme where they say basically if you fulfill these things that they'll push you a bit more, you get pushed a bit more. Yeah. There's loads of different benefits from it.
And there's no like voodoo or anything like that. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just kind of, like you say, like the sharing, like the followers, like you're just growing your audience. That's all it is. That's all it's
growing audiences, you know? And that's basically what it is. It's very interesting. If anyone, I will wrap it up because I just wanted to give our opinion on it straight off the bat.
Yeah, I agree.
Rather than give you a walkthrough guide. But if anyone does have any questions, like returns is your classic return. You have to offer returns as a professional reseller. So that works exactly the same. It's very, very much like Vinted from that perspective. They got free, or Vestiaire, they got 3 working days to report a problem. If not, it's just automatically given to you. If they write you a review or they tell you everything's okay beforehand, they can click a button and the money gets released. Very much the same as Vinted, or not Vestiaire, but Vinted.
I think that's once again another plus.
You have to offer returns if you are a professional seller, because I know a lot of professional sellers are initially going on there as private sellers, but the same rules apply as do to eBay, as do to any other platform, minus Vinted, because we don't even know what they're doing. Is that you have to offer returns. Even on Vinted, we offer returns. If someone messages me and says, look, there was a problem, 100%. It doesn't fit me or whatever, straight away I'm like, open a return, let's get going.
As a personal seller, I think if you don't
personal responsibility. I was just going to say,
I understand, but I'm saying as a personal seller though, as a non-business seller, I know you don't have to, but you know you're bound to, if you will. But for me, if someone doesn't like my product, I'm not just going to stiff them for the sake of a feedback or for a couple of quid. Like, I'll have it back and I'll resell it again. Because if I know my product's spot on, it doesn't matter anyway. What I was going to say, though, is to kind of wrap up, as you said, is for me as well, more than anything else, Bethany, I've said it before, she does like 99.9% of anything we list, right?
I would take 100.
I'll give you 99.999. Anyway, what I'm saying is, if Bethany, for a second, said to me, oh, do you know what? Like, this is a lot of work, which she has done multiple times on this platform and still cracked on. I know in my heart of hearts that it was worth looking at. So by the time I took my own kind of broad look at it, if you will, and started looking in, kind of working this up through myself, it's one of those things that it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I haven't felt like this in a long time about something new, I'll be honest. No,
it's not something new. It's like it'll be part of every single reseller's arsenal within a year, and I guarantee it.
If it's not and it's not for you, I would guess maybe it's because of the type of things which are sold on there. Like Bethany said, if you're kind of a predominantly house clearance guy, maybe not. And I don't know that, but I'm just guessing.
And to get the most out of it is quite
time consuming.
I know a lot of people, obviously, time management, and a lot of people, you know, the time is an issue, should we say?
Yes.
So
yes.
But if you're just browsing, like if you spend like 10 minutes at night, like in bed doing it, it'll be beneficial for you to do share. But we will do a separate video on how to do the sharing, how to do the following,
this will be coming soon.
How to do offers, and we'll run it, you know, like we did the Vestiaire video, we'll run it through so you can see it on screen, exactly what you...
Well, explained to be done, yeah. Start to finish, an A to Z.
Yes, exactly that. So we are going to leave. I'm going to try and get as many screenshots up as possible to sort of like be a little bit of a visual aid where I can. And yeah, our opinion on Poshmark, it's very clear. Our opinion on Poshmark, it will for our business, it will rival eBay.
Yes, that's it.
Global reseller, I mean nationally for resellers, I think it would be a mistake not to think that it will rival eBay.
I couldn't agree more. I think once again, like you just said 1,000 times over, that like Depop, Vinted, even Vestiaire, they have their uses. Don't get me wrong, but they don't compare. The fact we're forgetting those three for now, and like we make good money on those three apps, and we will continue to do that. What I'm saying is the fact we're instantly saying, okay, it's them versus eBay, and we're not saying that it's comparable yet. It's not. But the fact we're even comparing in our minds as regards to what time we're using on those apps,
I think
it's immense to me. I can't believe it, honestly. I sound like I'm BSing people.
I think that they will enter the market bigger than Depop, Vinted and Vestiaire.
It should be an explosion, and I hope it is for them. Honestly,
no, but it will, but just because of how advanced the app is just against all the others.
As Bethany said, it's going to take a certain kind of seller. I'll be honest, a certain kind of seller. But if you're that kind of seller, I promise you, I can, like, you can just see it, can't you? If you're willing to put that time and you are that social media kind of,
you'll make money, and that's the whole point of being a reseller, isn't it?
A lot of resellers, like they'll message me and for a price or message me for some information, and I'll say, oh, you know, maybe research and blah blah blah, and they say, oh, I will. It's just so many things. I'm spinning so many plates. I'm doing so much, and then but by the same token, those same people, and I've done it myself, will then sit watching a YouTube video for 20 minutes about with baby puppies or an Instagram reel.
Puppies are so cute.
Go watch the puppies. Have a time out, go watch your puppies. You know what I'm trying to say? Like we can all make time if we need to, and it's gonna affect our business positively.
Watching puppies. I watch puppies all the time. Puppies and children.
And she still had time for Poshmark, so what does that tell you? Can't be that hard, can it? Bye.